So last year I went through a bit of a funk. I would best describe it as photographer's block, but it's not like I wasn't taking any photos at all. I just didn't feel particularly motivated to do anything worthwhile or anything where I had to put a lot of effort into it in the long scheme. I think this sort of came about as a bit of a deflation from having published Wellard in sort of towards the end of 2017. And when I got to the end of that process, I didn't have anything to work on. I was a bit like, okay, what now? So for the most part, I took 2018 off any big projects, and I just shot what I'd say diaristically. So when I went away to UK and I just sort of shot stuff that interested me there, but nothing where I had sort of any grand scheme or any intentions of making a great big body of work. Fast forward to 2019 and I'm feeling so much more motivated now. I have about like 5 different ideas for work that I want to make, which is so exciting, but it's also daunting when you don't have any film, which is quite expensive. So recently I have been selling some prints of this image through my Instagram account, which is a landscape I took in 2017 through my Instagram account to raise some money, which has allowed me to buy some Portra 400. It's not cheap, but it's the good stuff. I'm not just here to plug that. I thought it would be a good opportunity to show the process that I go through to prepare a scan, because I scan the image myself at home to prepare it for print. I'd say how to polish a scan. So I'd say there are a few steps. Having done the color correction of the image, then involves noise removal, color noise removal, sharpening in a few different ways to target different parts of the image, and then general resizing and a couple of other things. So I'm going to go through that process in this video. If you are interested in picking up a copy of this image, there are still quite a few available, which you can get via my website, which I will link down below, which would be much appreciated so I can buy more film, so I can shoot more photos. Cool. Over to Future Tim, where I'm going to show you what to do. So the image I'm going to work on is this photo I took in Venice in Los Angeles in like 2017. As you can see, it's a very noisy, it's a very dirty negative. So first step is going to be to remove all this dust. This is a process called spotting. So what I do is create a new layer in Photoshop, hit the J key, which is going to open the healing brush, the spot healing brush, and then making sure that sample all layers is selected, just go through and click on every little bit of dust. This is a long process. So I've gone through pretty roughly and removed most of the visible dust. As you can see, I'll turn off the layer and on. So it's pretty clean. Dusting, or spotting, is a process you could literally do for an hour or many hours on one image, depending on the resolution of the scan and how big you want to print it. So the next thing, what I'm going to do is merge these layers now. The next thing I want to tackle is all of this noise you can see, especially in the negative space, which is mostly color noise, which has come from the sensor on the scanner. A lot of the times you actually see it more so in the lighter areas of the image where there's more exposure. And that's because the negative is denser. And because the negative is denser, the light basically hasn't been able to shine as brightly through it. And so we're increasing the exposure artificially, and that's where you get the noise from. My favorite way to do this is to use a plugin from Nik called Define. It's going to go into there. So I like to manually set the level, so I'll choose Method, Manual, and I'll click this little box here. Just select a bit where I can see there's noise, and I'll hit Measure. And then it's going to read that. So as a result of this, you'll get some sharpness loss, and the best way to undo that is to go over to Reduce, and we want to bring the contrast noise reduction down. That's just going to remove some of the grain, which is not what we want to do. It's noise that we're targeting. So turn the contrast noise reduction down, We're also going to turn up the color noise reduction a bit. So I'll just like show you before and after. We've lost a tiny bit of sharpness, but we're going to reintroduce that soon. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go and toggle this layer on and off, and you can see the massive difference it's made. Starting to clean the image up. The next step is to sharpen it. Now there's 2 steps to sharpening for me. I just like to use a plugin. There's lots of different ways to sharpen, but I find a combination of NIC's raw pre-sharpener and output sharpener works really well. I'm going to go to the raw pre-sharpener first. And this seems to do more of a micro sharpen, or micro contrast. Yeah, you can see there's a very subtle difference, but it's reintroducing some of that sharpness we lost in the previous step. You can control the adaptive sharpening. You don't want to go overboard. So happy here. And what it'll also allow you to do is to choose whether you want to sharpen the edges more or sharpen areas. You can see the massive difference that it's having. I just like to have it somewhere in the middle. So it depends on the nature of the image and how much detail is actually in the image. So I'm happy here. Happy with that. Gonna hit OK. You can see the difference here. Yeah, starting to look really nice. The second sharpening step is going to be the output sharpener. Now this is technically where you're supposed to sharpen depending on the medium that you're actually going to print onto. So like a cotton rag paper, for example, is going to allow you to sharpen far more because it's a naturally softer media than like a smooth pearl paper. Now I think there's probably a bit too much sharpening there, so I'm going to bring it down a bit. And I just like to sort of play around. It always depends on the image. I'm happy with that. Now what you'll notice is, just because of the nature of the scanner we're using, you get some sort of pixelation in the very fine details. So that's what we're going to tackle next. I'm going to hit OK. Yeah, so we're really getting a nice sharp image now. So this is what we started with. This is where we are now. Now to deal with that pixelation, I'm going to introduce a very small amount of noise. So I'm going to go into add noise. We want a monochromatic noise, and so at the moment we have way too much. So see what we get. I think around 2% should be good. And that's looking really nice. Now, a lot of this will take a lot of playing around with, depending on the size of the image and the nature of the image. But yeah, like where we started here, it's just soft and like with lots of color noise. Now this is sharp. And this image is ready to go to print. And I am going to be selling copies of this image to fund my film acquisition, so you can hit the link in the description below and go to my website, check it out. I think I have a few different sizes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching another video. Be back soon with more content. Willem Verbeek makes me post, so this one's for you, Willem. And yeah, catch ya.